Part 1. The camp ran out of supplies. The alarm rang through the outpost at dawn. Jiwon woke up quickly and put on his uniform. Something was wrong. The alarm only rang for emergencies. He walked fast through the metal halls of the station. Other crew members were doing the same thing. Everyone looked worried. Commander Velthar stood in the main meeting room. His large insect-like eyes looked at everyone as they entered. The commander was tall with a hard shell covering his body. He came from a planet far away where his people evolved from creatures like Earth's beetles. Next to him stood Dr. Nira, whose body was made of crystal-like material that glowed slightly in the dim light. Tech, the supply officer, sat in the corner. His amphibious skin looked pale and wet with nervous sweat. "We have a serious problem," Commander Velthar said. His voice was calm but firm. "The supply ship was damaged by an ion storm. It will not arrive for 3 more weeks. Our food synthesizers have also stopped working. We have only 2 days of emergency rations left." The room went silent. Then everyone started talking at once. The 50 crew members came from 12 different species. Each species needed different types of food. Some ate minerals, others needed liquid nutrients. A few required live bacteria cultures. The humans could eat many things, but most aliens could not share the same food. Tech stood up. His webbed hands shook. "We must send a distress signal. We need immediate rescue. The nearest ship is 4 weeks away," Dr. Nira said. Her crystalline voice sounded like wind chimes. "We cannot wait that long." Jiwon listened to the arguments. He stood near the window that looked out over the ocean. Thalassa 7 was a moon covered mostly by water. The outpost sat on a small rocky island. Waves crashed against the shore below. The water was clear and blue-green. Jiwon could see shapes moving beneath the surface. Large shapes. Schools of creatures swimming together. He had been a fisherman back on Earth before joining the coalition. His family had caught fish from the ocean for 5 generations. He knew water. He knew how to read currents and find where creatures gathered. His grandfather had taught him everything. "Commander," Jiwon said, raising his hand. Everyone turned to look at him. Velthar's antennae twitched. "Yes, Jiwon. The ocean is full of life. I can see it from here. We can catch food from the water." The room went silent again. Then several aliens started laughing. Dr. Nira made a sound like breaking glass, which was how her species laughed. "You want us to hunt wild animals?" she said. "That is what primitive species did millions of years ago. We are civilized beings. We use synthesizers." "The synthesizers are broken," Jiwon said simply. "But the ocean is not broken. It is full of food." Tech's eyes grew wide with fear. "Eating unprocessed creatures? That could poison us. We do not know what is in those animals." Jiwon walked to the center of the room. He was shorter than most of the aliens, but he stood straight. His colleague Hisu stood up too. She was the communication specialist. She had been listening carefully. "Jiwon is right," Hisu said. "Humans have been catching food from water for thousands of years. We call it fishing. We know how to test if something is safe to eat. Our medical scanners can analyze the creatures." Daehyun, the 3rd human, nodded. He was a security officer, but he loved to cook. "I can prepare the food. I know many ways to make things safe and taste good." Commander Velthar's antennae moved back and forth. He was thinking, "This is highly irregular. Coalition protocols do not include hunting for food. Coalition protocols also say we should not starve," Jiwon said. "I know this seems strange, but humans have good stomachs. We can eat many different things. Let me test the water creatures first. If they are safe, I will eat them first. If I do not get sick, then others can try." Dr. Nira stepped forward. Her crystalline body reflected the light in rainbow colors. "Even if the creatures are not toxic, they may not have the right nutrients for our species. What works for humans may not work for Zinthari or Quilvan or Baruvians. That is why we test first," Hisu said. "We can use the medical scanners to analyze the nutritional content. We can see what each creature contains. Then we match them to different species' needs." The commander looked at the faces around the room. Everyone was scared. Some aliens had never even seen unprocessed food before. They had grown up eating nutrient paste from synthesizers. The idea of eating a wild creature seemed dangerous and disgusting to many of them, but they were also hungry. The emergency rations tasted terrible and there was not much left. "How would you even catch these creatures?" Commander Velthar asked. Jiwon smiled. "I will show you. Humans have many ways. We use nets, hooks, and lines. We can make the tools from materials we have here. Give me 1 day. I will bring back food." The commander's mandibles clicked together. That was how his species showed they were making a difficult decision. Finally, he spoke. You have permission to try this fishing, but you must follow safety protocols. Wear protective suits, take communication devices, test everything before anyone eats it. If this fails, we will have wasted time we do not have. It will not fail, Ji-won said confidently. The meeting ended. Most of the crew returned to their duties, but many whispered to each other. They were not sure if the humans were brave or crazy. Hunting wild animals for food seemed like something from ancient history, not from the age of space travel. Ji-won, Hye-soo, and Dae-hyun went to the storage rooms. They needed to gather materials. Ji-won found cargo netting made of strong synthetic fiber. He could use that. Dae-hyun found metal rods that could be shaped into hooks. Hye-soo located thin cables that could work as fishing line. Do you really think this will work? Hye-soo asked while they carried materials outside. It has to work, Ji-won said. My grandfather always said that where there is water, there is life. Where there is life, there is food. We just need to know how to catch it. They walked down to the rocky beach. The ocean stretched endlessly before them. The water was not like Earth's oceans. It had a slightly different color, and the waves moved in strange patterns because Thalassa 7 had 3 moons. But to Ji-won, it still smelled like home. Salt and life and possibility. Several alien crew members followed them at a distance. They wanted to see what these humans would do. Dr. Nira came too, carrying her scientific equipment. She was skeptical but also curious. Ji-won bent the metal rods into hooks. He attached them to the cables. Then he found some leftover ration bars and crushed them up. We need bait, he explained. Something to attract the creatures. He walked to the edge of the water. The waves washed over his boots. He threw the line out into the surf. The hook sank beneath the surface with the bait attached. Now what? Dr. Nira asked. Now we wait, Ji-won said. Fishing requires patience. The aliens found this concept strange. Waiting, just standing there. It seemed inefficient. But they watched anyway. 10 minutes passed. Nothing happened. Some of the aliens started to walk away. Then suddenly the line jerked in Ji-won's hand. Something had grabbed it. Something strong. Help me, Ji-won called to Dae-hyun. Both humans pulled on the line. It was heavy. Very heavy. They pulled and pulled. The line cut through the water, moving back and forth. Whatever was on the other end did not want to be caught. Finally, they dragged it onto the beach. The creature flopped on the rocks. It was about 1 meter long with silver scales and 4 fins. It looked somewhat like an earth salmon, but with an extra set of eyes. The aliens gathered around, staring. They had never seen anything like this. Food that moved. Food that was still alive. Ji-won quickly ended the creature's life with a knife. He did it fast to minimize suffering. This is what fishing is, he said to everyone watching. This is how humans have survived for thousands of years. Dr. Nira scanned the creature with her device. Data appeared on the small screen. Her crystalline body flickered with surprise. Interesting, she said slowly. This creature has high protein content, low toxin levels. The protein structure is actually compatible with several coalition species. Not all, but several. Hope spread across the faces watching. Maybe the humans were right. Maybe they could survive after all. Ji-won looked at the ocean. He could see more shapes in the water. Many more. They would need to catch a lot to feed 50 crew members, but it was possible. This is just the beginning, he said. The camp had run out of supplies, but the human had started fishing. Part 2, First Catch. The next morning came early for Ji-won and his team. The sun rose over Thalassa 7, painting the ocean in orange and pink colors. Ji-won stood on the beach with Hye-soo and Dae-hyun. They had worked late into the night preparing their equipment. Now they had proper fishing nets made from cargo materials, stronger hooks and longer lines. Commander Velthar came down to the beach with Dr. Nira. Many other crew members followed. Word had spread through the outpost about yesterday's catch. Everyone wanted to see if the humans could do it again. Some aliens still looked doubtful. Others looked hopeful. We tested the creature you caught yesterday, Dr. Nira said. Her crystalline voice was less harsh than before. It can provide nutrition for humans, Zenthari, and Baruvians. That is 3 species. But we have 12 species here. We need more variety. That is why we are going deeper today, Ji-won said. He pointed to the water. Different depths have different creatures. Different areas, too. The ocean is not just one thing. It is like a forest with many levels. Yisu carried the medical scanner and sample containers. Daehyun had made a large net by connecting pieces of cargo webbing. It looked rough but strong. Ji-won had his fishing lines and hooks ready. They waded into the water. The ocean was cool but not cold. Ji-won had learned that Thalassa 7's water was slightly warmer than Earth's oceans because of thermal vents on the ocean floor. That meant more life, more creatures, more food. Stay close to me, Ji-won said to the others. Watch for currents. The water can pull you away quickly. They moved through the shallow area where small creatures darted between rocks. Ji-won stopped and pointed down. Through the clear water, they could see the bottom. Creatures with shells crawled along the rocks. They looked like crabs but had 6 legs instead of 8. Yisu, can you scan those? Ji-won asked. Yisu knelt in the water and pointed the scanner at the creatures. Data flowed across the screen. High mineral content? Calcium, magnesium, iron. Some trace elements I do not recognize, but the base structure looks safe. Dr. Nira, Ji-won called to the shore. Would mineral-rich food work for Quilvin? The crystal alien stepped closer to the water's edge. Yes, Quilvin need minerals to maintain our structure. If those creatures are safe, they could help. Ji-won reached down and grabbed one of the shell creatures. It was fast, but he was faster. The creature's legs waved in the air. Its shell was smooth and hard. Blue-green in color with spots that glowed faintly. Daehyun caught several more. They put them in a container filled with seawater to keep them fresh. Then they moved deeper. The water reached their waists now. Ji-won felt something brush against his leg. He looked down and saw a school of fish swimming past. These were smaller than yesterday's catch, about the size of his hand. They moved together like one creature, turning all at once in perfect coordination. Daehyun, the net, Ji-won said quickly. Both men spread the net wide and swept it through the water. The school tried to scatter, but many got caught in the webbing. They pulled the net up. At least 20 fish flopped inside. Their scales were not silver like yesterday's fish. These had rainbow colors that shifted when they moved. More aliens had come down to the beach now. Almost the whole crew stood watching. Some talked excitedly to each other. Others recorded video on their devices. For many of them, this was the strangest thing they had ever seen. Food that you caught with your hands. Food that came from nature, not from a machine. Yisu scanned the rainbow fish. Different protein structure from yesterday's catch. These have more fat content. That could be good for species that need fatty acids. They continued fishing for 2 hours. The sun climbed higher in the sky. Ji-won taught Yisu and Daehyun how to read the water. Where ripples meant fish were feeding on the surface. Where shadows meant larger creatures swam below. How to feel vibrations through the water that told you something was nearby. They caught many different things. Some looked familiar, like creatures from Earth. Others were completely alien. One creature was transparent like glass. Another had feathers instead of scales. A third one glowed in the dark when they put it in a shaded container. But the best catch came when Ji-won cast his line far out into deeper water. He had attached a piece of yesterday's fish as bait. The line sank down and down. He waited. Patience was important in fishing. You could not rush the ocean. Then the line went tight. Something big had taken the bait. Very big. Help, Ji-won called. His arms strained to hold the line. Daehyun grabbed the line too. Both men pulled together. Yisu held on to Daehyun to keep them from being pulled into the deep water. On the beach, the aliens watched with wide eyes or sensors or whatever their species used to see. The creature fought hard. It pulled the line left, then right. It dove deep, then came up fast. Ji-won's hands hurt from gripping the line so tight. But he did not let go. His grandfather had taught him that once you hook a fish, you must respect it by bringing it in properly. Keep pulling, Daehyun shouted. I can see it. A large shape moved through the water toward them. It was at least 2 meters long. As it came closer, they could see it clearly. The creature had a long body like an eel, but with multiple fins along its back. Its skin was dark blue with white stripes. It had small eyes, but a large mouth full of small teeth. With one final pull, they dragged it onto the beach. The creature was heavy. It must have weighed 40 kilograms or more. It flopped on the rocks, trying to get back to the water. Ji-won ended its life quickly with his knife, just like before. He always made it fast. The creature deserved respect. It had given its life so others could eat. The aliens crowded around. Commander Velthar came close and looked at the large catch. His antennae moved in a way that showed he was impressed. One creature this size could feed many people. he said quietly. Dr. Nira scanned it immediately. Her crystalline body flickered faster when she was excited, and now she was flickering very fast. This is remarkable. This creature has complex proteins, multiple vitamins, omega fatty acids similar to earthfish, and mineral content. It could potentially provide nutrition for at least 8 different species here. A cheer went up from the watching aliens. 8 species? More than half the crew could eat this creature. Hope grew stronger now. Maybe they would not starve. Maybe these humans really did know what they were doing. They carried all their catches back to the outpost. Jiwon, Hisu, and Daehyun were wet and tired but happy. They had caught enough for everyone to have at least one meal. Now came the hard part. They had to prepare the food. Daehyun set up a work area outside the outpost. He found metal sheets that could be heated. He rigged up heating elements from repair equipment. It was not a real kitchen, but it would work. Jiwon showed him how to clean the fish, how to remove scales and internal organs, how to cut the flesh into pieces that could be cooked. Some aliens looked away during this part. They found it disturbing to see food being prepared from an actual creature, but others watched closely. They wanted to learn. The shell creatures were easier. Daehyun boiled water using a heating element and dropped them in. After a few minutes, he pulled them out. The shells had turned bright red and the meat inside was white and firm. For the large eel-like creature, Jiwon cut thick steaks from its body. Daehyun placed them on the heated metal sheets. The smell of cooking fish filled the air. That smell was strange to most aliens. Many species in the coalition had never smelled cooked food before. Their synthesizers produced nutrient paste that had no smell, but this was different. The smell made some aliens feel curious. Others felt nervous. A few felt hungry even though they did not understand why. After an hour, the food was ready. Daehyun had prepared samples of each creature in different ways. Some grilled, some boiled, some cut into raw pieces for species that could not eat cooked food. Commander Velthar stepped forward first. As leader, he had to set an example. He took a small piece of grilled fish from the rainbow-colored catch. He studied it carefully, then he put it in his mouth. His mandibles moved as he chewed. His antennae waved back and forth. Everyone watched him carefully. "It is good," he said finally. "The texture is unusual, but the flavor is complex, interesting, I like it." That was all the crew needed to hear. One by one, they came forward to try the food. Dr. Nira tried the boiled shell creatures. She said the minerals in them made her body feel stronger immediately. Tech, the nervous Peruvian, tried the raw eel meat and said it was the best thing he had ever tasted. Some species could not eat any of the catches. Their biology was too different, but most species found at least one creature they could consume safely. More importantly, no one got sick. All the creatures were safe. As the sun set over Thalassa 7, the crew of the outpost sat together outside. They ate their meals of fresh-caught food. They talked and laughed. The crisis was not over yet. They still had 3 weeks until the supply ship came. But now they knew they could survive. Jiwon sat on a rock and looked at the ocean. Tomorrow they would need to fish again. And the day after that, and every day until the supply ship arrived. It would be hard work. But it was possible. Hisu sat down next to him. "You were right," she said. "Where there is water, there is food." "My grandfather's words," Jiwon said with a smile. He would be proud today. "We brought the old ways to the stars." Daehyun joined them, wiping his hands on a cloth. Part 3. The Shore Kitchen. 3 days had passed since the first successful fishing trip. Jiwon stood on the beach looking at the space where they would build the shore kitchen. The area was flat and close to the water, but high enough that normal waves could not reach it. Perfect for what they needed. Daehyun had made drawings on his data pad. Simple plans showing where everything would go. Cooking areas, cleaning tables, storage for equipment, a shelter to protect them from sun and rain. "We need help," Hisu said. She had been counting supplies all morning. "The 3 of us cannot build this alone and still fish every day." As if hearing her words, several aliens walked down the path from the outpost. Commander Velthar led them. Behind him came Dr. Nira, Tech, and 6 other crew members from different species. "We are here to help," the commander said. His antennae pointed forward, which meant he was serious and focused. "You have kept us fed for 3 days. Now we help you build something better." Jiwon felt grateful. He had not expected this. Most of these aliens had thought fishing was primitive and strange just a few days ago. Now they wanted to help make it permanent. "Thank you," Jiwon said. We have a lot of work to do. They began by sorting through damaged equipment and unused materials from the outpost storage. There were metal panels from old cargo containers, synthetic fabric from emergency shelters, heating elements from broken synthesizers, support poles from dismantled equipment. Everything they needed was there. They just had to put it together in new ways. The aliens worked alongside the humans. Dr. Nira used her scientific knowledge to calculate load weights and stress points. Tech, despite being nervous about most things, was surprisingly good at connecting electrical systems. A strong alien named Vorak from a high-gravity world carried heavy metal sheets that would have taken 3 humans to lift. By midday, the frame was taking shape. 4 strong poles stood at the corners. Metal beams connected them at the top. They stretched the shelter fabric over the frame and secured it. Now they had shade from the bright sun and protection from rain. Daehyun directed the building of the cooking area. They set up 3 separate cooking stations using salvaged heating elements. Each station had a flat metal surface for grilling and a pot holder for boiling. They connected everything to a portable power unit from the outpost. Haisu designed the cleaning area, 2 long tables made from cargo container doors. Running water from a hose connected to the outpost's water system. Drainage that led back toward the ocean. Containers for waste that would need to be disposed of properly. Jiwon worked on the storage section. They needed a place to keep caught fish fresh until they could be cooked. He took a damaged cooling unit from the outpost and got it working again. It was not as cold as a proper refrigerator, but it would keep food fresh for several hours. While the adults built the kitchen, a young Quilvan engineer approached Jiwon. His name was Prex. His crystalline body was smaller than Dr. Nira's and had a greenish tint that showed his young age. "Can you teach me to fish?" Prex asked. His voice sounded like small bells ringing. Jiwon looked surprised. "You want to learn?" "Yes, I have watched you for 3 days. It looks difficult but also satisfying. Like solving a puzzle that fights back," Jiwon smiled. "That was a good way to describe fishing. Okay, come with me. I will teach you." They walked to the water's edge. Jiwon showed Prex how to prepare a fishing line, how to attach the hook, how to bait it with small pieces of fish saved from yesterday's catch. "Now you throw it out into the water," Jiwon said. He demonstrated with his own line, casting it far out into the surf. Prex tried to copy the movement. His crystalline arms moved differently than human arms. The line went out but not very far. It splashed into the shallow water close to shore. "That is okay," Jiwon said patiently. "Everyone starts somewhere. Try again." Prex practiced the casting motion, again and again. His line went a little farther each time. Other aliens stopped working to watch. They found it interesting that Prex wanted to learn this human skill. On his 10th try, Prex's line went far out into deeper water. The hook sank beneath the surface. Prex held the line carefully, waiting like Jiwon had taught him. "What do I do now?" Prex asked. "Now you wait. Be patient. Feel the line. When something takes the bait, you will know." They stood together in the water. The waves washed around their legs. The sun was warm on their backs. Several minutes passed with nothing happening. "How long does waiting take?" Prex asked. "Sometimes a few minutes, sometimes a few hours, sometimes all day and you catch nothing. That is fishing." "That seems inefficient," Jiwon laughed. "Yes, but it also teaches you patience. It teaches you to pay attention, to be part of nature instead of separate from it. These are good things to learn." Suddenly, Prex's line jerked. Something had grabbed it. The young Quilvan made a sound of surprise, like crystal breaking. "Pull," Jiwon said. "Pull steady and strong." Prex pulled on the line. Whatever was on the other end pulled back. It was not as big as some of Jiwon's catches, but for Prex's first time it was perfect. They worked together to bring the creature in. It was one of the rainbow-colored fish, about 30 centimeters long with fins that sparkled in the sunlight. Prex held it up and his whole body glowed brighter with excitement. "I caught food," he said, "with my own hands. I provided sustenance through personal effort." The aliens working on the kitchen stopped to clap or make whatever sound their species used for celebration. Prex had done something none of them had ever done before. He had caught his own food. That moment changed something in the crew. More aliens wanted to learn. Over the next few days, Jiwon and Prex taught others how to fish. Some were good at it naturally. Others struggled but kept trying. Each person who caught their first fish felt the same pride that Prex had felt. By the end of the first week, the shore kitchen was complete. It was rough but functional. The cooking stations worked well. The cleaning area was efficient. The storage kept food fresh. They even built a smoking rack using metal grating and a small firebox. Daehyun wanted to try smoking fish to make it last longer. The kitchen became more than just a place to prepare food. It became a gathering spot. During meal preparation times, crew members would come down to the beach. They would watch the cooking process. They would talk to each other. They would share stories. One evening, while Daehyun grilled fish steaks and Hisu cleaned the day's catch, several aliens sat around the kitchen area. They started talking about food from their homeworlds. Dr. Nira told them about the mineral gardens on her planet. Places where different minerals grew in beautiful formations. Young Quilvin would go there to absorb the nutrients they needed to grow. It was ceremonial and important. Tech talked about the spawning pools on his world, how Baruvians would gather there each season to share nutrients from the water. It was both feeding and socializing at the same time. Commander Velthar described the nectar festivals on his planet. How the Zenthari would harvest sweet nectar from giant flowers. They would process it together and share it with their hive communities. It brought everyone together. Yesu listened to all these stories and made notes on her data pad. Every species has food culture, she said. It is not just about eating. It is about community, about tradition, about sharing. Humans too? Dr. Nira asked. Oh yes, Jiwon said. He stopped cleaning a fish and looked at the group. My grandfather taught me to fish. His grandfather taught him, going back many generations. When I fish, I am connecting to all those ancestors. I am doing what they did. It is like they are still alive in my actions. The aliens found this idea beautiful. Many of their cultures had similar concepts, doing things the old ways to honor those who came before. Perhaps, Commander Velthar said slowly, we have lost something important. We use synthesizers because they are efficient, but efficiency is not everything. We have forgotten the satisfaction of providing for ourselves. The shore kitchen operated every day now. Each morning, fishing teams would go out. Sometimes humans, sometimes aliens, often mixed groups. They would return with the day's catch. Daehyun and his helpers would prepare it in different ways. They grilled, boiled, smoked, and even learned to make a kind of soup using fish stock and local seaweeds. Not everyone could eat everything. But they found enough variety that all 12 species had at least 2 options each day. More importantly, everyone had enough food. No one was hungry anymore. Jiwon experimented with different fishing techniques. He taught the crew how to make fish traps from wire mesh, how to use nets more efficiently, how to fish at different times of day to catch different species. He even tried night fishing using lights to attract certain creatures. The crew learned that different areas of the coast had different fish. Rocky areas had the shell creatures and bottom feeders. Sandy areas had the schools of small rainbow fish. Deep channels had the large eel-like creatures. Understanding the environment helped them fish better. One afternoon, dark clouds appeared on the horizon. The meteorology officer sent a warning to everyone. A large storm was coming. It would arrive in 3 days and last for at least 3 more days. Jiwon stood on the beach and looked at those distant clouds. During the storm, they could not fish. The waves would be too dangerous. The lightning too risky. They would be trapped inside the outpost. Part 4. The Storm and Innovation. The storm hit the Lhasa 7 just before dawn. Jiwon woke to the sound of wind howling against the outpost walls. Rain hammered on the metal roof like thousands of tiny drums. He got up and looked out the window. The ocean was angry. Waves crashed against the shore with tremendous force. The sky was dark gray, almost black. He walked through the corridors to the common area. Many crew members were already there. Everyone looked worried. Through the large windows, they could see their shore kitchen on the beach. The shelter fabric whipped violently in the wind. Waves were reaching closer to it than normal. Will it survive? Tech asked nervously. His amphibious skin was even paler than usual. I do not know, Jiwon said honestly. We built it as strong as we could. Now we wait and see. Commander Velthar entered the room. His antennae lay flat against his head, a sign that he was concerned. The meteorology station reports the storm will last at least 3 days, possibly 4. We must stay inside. No one goes to the shore for any reason. It is too dangerous. The crew settled in for a long wait. The outpost was secure and weatherproof. They had power and water, and thanks to their fishing efforts over the past 3 days, they had food. Lots of it. The question was whether the preserved food would last and whether it would still be good. Hisu had organized the food storage carefully. She had labeled everything with what it was and when it was prepared. She made a schedule for meals that would stretch their supplies through the entire storm period, with some extra days as backup. Daehyun set up a cooking area inside the outpost. It was much smaller than the shore kitchen, but it worked. He used portable heating elements and countertops from the medical bay. The smell of cooking fish filled the outpost. Many aliens found the smell comforting now. It meant food. It meant survival. On the first day of the storm, they ate grilled fish that had been smoked the day before. The smoking had changed the flavor, made it richer and deeper. Some aliens liked it even better than fresh fish. Others preferred the fresh taste. But everyone agreed it was good. By the second day, the storm had grown worse. Lightning flashed constantly. Thunder shook the walls. The waves were massive now, at least 10 meters high. They crashed against the rocky island with explosive force. Through the rain and spray, they could barely see the shore kitchen anymore. "It is going to be destroyed," Dr. Nira said. Her crystalline body reflected the lightning flashes. "We will have to rebuild when the storm ends." "Maybe," Jiwon said. "But maybe not. We built it strong. We will see." The crew passed the time in different ways. Some worked on their regular duties. Others played games or watched entertainment on their devices. But many gathered in the common area to eat together and talk. The shore kitchen had created a new habit of communal meals. Even stuck inside during a storm, they wanted to maintain it. During one meal, a young Baruvian named Kes asked Jiwon a question. "Where did humans learn all these fishing techniques? Did one person invent them?" Jiwon smiled. He was sitting on the floor with a plate of smoked fish and seaweed. "No, thousands of people invented them. Over thousands of years. Every generation learned from the one before and added new ideas. My grandfather learned from his grandfather. I learned from him. Now I teach you. That is how human knowledge works." "We build on what came before, but what if the knowledge is lost?" Kes asked. "What if no one teaches the next generation?" "That is why teaching is important," Hisu said. She was documenting everything in her datapad as always. "I'm writing down everything we do. Every fishing technique. Every cooking method. Every type of creature we catch. This information will be saved in the Coalition database. Anyone can learn from it." Commander Velthar listened to this conversation. He had been thinking a lot over the past week. His people, the Zenthari, had been using synthesizers for 300 years. In that time, they had forgotten most of their old food-gathering traditions. Maybe that was a mistake. Maybe some old knowledge was worth keeping. On the third day, the storm began to weaken. The wind was still strong, but not as violent. The rain continued, but lighter now. The waves were smaller. They could see the shore more clearly. The shore kitchen was still standing. Damaged, but standing. The fabric shelter had torn in several places. One of the support poles leaned at an angle, but the main structure had survived. "Incredible," Dr. Nira said. "Human construction methods are more resilient than I expected. We built things to last before we had advanced technology," Daehyun explained. "Sometimes simple is stronger than complex." But even though the storm was weakening, they could not go outside yet. The wind was still too dangerous. They would have to wait another day at least. Meanwhile, their food supplies were getting lower. They had enough for 2 more days. Maybe 3 if they rationed carefully. That night, Jiwon could not sleep. He kept thinking about the ocean. The storm had churned up the water completely. It had moved currents and scattered fish populations. When they could finally fish again, would they find the same creatures in the same places? Or would everything be different? He walked to the window and looked out at the dark water. Lightning still flashed occasionally in the distance. In those brief moments of light, he could see the ocean's surface. It looked different. More debris floating. Different colors in the water. The storm had changed things. The next morning, the storm finally ended. The wind stopped. The rain became a light drizzle and then stopped completely. The clouds began to break apart, showing blue sky beyond. The crew cheered. After 4 days trapped inside, they could finally go out. Jiwon, Hisu, and Daehyun were the first ones down to the beach. The shore kitchen looked rough. The fabric shelter was torn and flapping. One table had been knocked over. Sand and debris covered everything, but it could be repaired. "We were lucky," Daehyun said. A few more hours of that storm and it would have been completely destroyed. They spent the morning cleaning and repairing. Other crew members came to help. By afternoon, the shore kitchen was functional again. Not pretty, but functional. Now came the test. Could they still catch fish? Ji-won took his fishing line and walked to the water's edge. The ocean looked different. The water was cloudier than before, full of sediment stirred up from the bottom. Would fish be here? Would they bite? He cast his line out into the surf. Waited. Nothing happened for 10 minutes, then 20 minutes. This was taking longer than normal. Prex came to stand beside him. The young Quilvin had his own fishing line now. Perhaps the fish have gone somewhere else, he said. Perhaps, Ji-won agreed. The storm would have disturbed them. We may need to find new fishing spots. He pulled his line in and walked down the beach to a different area. He tried there. Still nothing. He tried a third spot. A fourth spot. The fish were not biting in the shallows. We need to go deeper, Ji-won said. The fish have moved to calmer water, away from where the storm was strongest. Dae-hyun had an idea. The outpost has a small submarine. For underwater repairs. We could use it to fish in deeper water. Commander Velthar approved the idea. Anything to get food. The submarine was small, designed for 2 people and equipment. It could dive to about 100 meters depth. More than enough for fishing. Ji-won and Dae-hyun took the submarine out that afternoon. Hisu came too, squeezing into the small space. They dove beneath the surface. The underwater world of Thalassa 7 was beautiful. Schools of fish swam past. Strange plants grew on rocks. Creatures they had never seen before moved through the depths. They went deeper and found a channel between 2 underwater ridges. In that channel, protected from the storm's fury, they found what they were looking for. A massive school of the large eel-like creatures. Hundreds of them swimming together in the deep water. How do we catch them from inside the submarine? Hisu asked. Ji-won thought about it. They had brought nets, but using them from inside the submarine would be difficult. Then he remembered something his grandfather had told him about deep water fishing. We use a trawling net, Ji-won said. We attach it to the outside of the submarine. We drag it through the school. The fish swim into the net. They rigged up one of their large nets to the submarine's exterior using the tool arm controls. Then Dae-hyun piloted the submarine slowly through the school of creatures. The net filled with fish. More and more of them. When the net looked full enough, they closed it and headed back to the surface. Getting the catch back to shore was difficult. The net was very heavy, but they managed to drag it up onto the beach. When they opened it, everyone's eyes went wide. At least 50 large fish. Maybe more. Each one big enough to feed multiple people. The crew gathered around the enormous catch. They had never seen so much food at once. This was enough for days. More than enough. They had worried they would starve after the storm. Instead, they had more than ever. The storm pushed the fish into deeper channels, Ji-won explained. They gathered there for safety. We just had to find them. Over the next few days, they developed new fishing methods for the post-storm conditions. They learned to read the changed water patterns. They found new locations where fish congregated. They even discovered new species of creatures that had been brought up from deeper waters by the storm currents. Dae-hyun experimented more with food preservation. He tried different smoking techniques. Part 5, Legacy and Rescue, the final week arrived. The supply ship was scheduled to reach Thalassa 7 in just 7 days. The emergency was nearly over, but something had changed in the outpost. No one talked about going back to synthesized food. No one wanted to abandon the shore kitchen. Ji-won stood at the water's edge early one morning. The ocean was calm and beautiful. He could see fish jumping in the distance, chasing smaller creatures near the surface. The sight made him happy. This place felt like home now. Prex approached with his fishing line. The young Quilvin had become quite skilled in the past 2 weeks. Good morning, teacher, Prex said. His crystalline body glowed with the light of the rising sun. Good morning, Ji-won replied. Ready to catch breakfast? They fished together in comfortable silence. This had become their routine. Prex had taught other aliens what he learned, and now there were always multiple fishing teams working. The outpost had become self-sufficient for food. By mid-morning, they had caught enough for the day's meals. They carried their catch back to the shore kitchen, where Dae-hyun was already preparing the cooking stations. The smell of grilled fish from yesterday's late meal still hung in the air. I have been thinking, Dae-hyun said while cleaning fish. When the supply ship comes, we will have synthesizer food again. But I do not want to stop cooking. This is better. More satisfying, I agree, Hisu said. She was organizing her documentation project. I have been recording everything. All our techniques, all the creatures we have found, all the cooking methods, but it feels strange to think this might end soon. Before Jiwon could respond, alarms sounded throughout the outpost. Not emergency alarms, arrival alarms. A ship was approaching. Commander Velthar's voice came through the communication system. All personnel to the landing area. A coalition patrol ship has arrived. Everyone hurried to the main landing pad. A sleek patrol vessel descended from the sky. It was much smaller than a supply freighter but heavily armed and fast. These ships traveled through dangerous space, protecting coalition interests. The patrol ship landed smoothly. Its hatch opened and several crew members stepped out. Leading them was a tall Quilvan with dark purple crystalline formations. His body was decorated with military markings. This was someone important. Commander Velthar greeted him formally. Welcome to Thalassa 7 Outpost. I am Commander Velthar. I am Commander Stex of the Coalition Patrol Fleet, the visitor said. His voice had a sharp, commanding tone. We detected your distress signal 2 weeks ago. We diverted to assist. We expected to find a crisis situation. We had a crisis, Velthar explained. Our supply ship was damaged. Our food synthesizers failed, but we managed to survive until help could arrive. Commander Stex looked around. His sensors took in everything. The crew members looked healthy, not desperate or starving. There were no signs of panic or disorder. How did you survive? We would like to show you, Velthar said. Please follow me. They led the patrol crew down to the beach. The shore kitchen was in full operation. Several crew members were fishing in the water. Others were preparing caught creatures at the cleaning tables. Daehyun was cooking at the grilling stations. The smoke rose into the air, carrying delicious smells. Commander Stex stopped and stared. His crystalline body flickered with confusion. What is this? What are you doing? We are fishing, Jiwon said, stepping forward. And cooking. This is how we have been feeding ourselves. Fishing? Stex's voice rose higher. You mean hunting wild creatures? Preparing unprocessed organic matter? This is barbaric. This is what primitive species did thousands of years ago. The outpost crew members looked at each other. Some were angry at Stex's words. Others were amused. They had all thought the same thing at first. Now they knew better. With respect, Commander, Dr. Nira said, this primitive method saved our lives. The humans showed us that old knowledge still has value. Stex made a dismissive gesture. You are coalition personnel. You should not be reduced to such basic survival methods. This is beneath our dignity as advanced species. I order you to cease this activity immediately. My ship has sufficient supplies to feed you until your supply vessel arrives. An uncomfortable silence fell over the beach. Commander Velthar's antennae moved in a pattern that showed he was thinking carefully. He was torn between following a superior officer's orders and defending something that had become important to his crew. Jiwon stepped closer to Commander Stex. Before you make that order final, would you like to try it yourself? Try what? Stex asked. Fishing. Catch something with your own efforts. Prepare it, eat it, then decide if it is beneath dignity. Stex's body flickered with indignation. I do not need to participate in primitive activities to know they are inappropriate for coalition personnel. Are you afraid? Prex asked suddenly. The young Quilvan stepped forward. I was afraid too at first. I thought it was beneath me. But I learned something important. Catching your own food teaches you about self-reliance, about patience, about respecting where sustenance comes from. I am better for learning these things. Other crew members voiced agreement. The patrol crew members who had come with Stex looked curious. They had never seen anything like the shore kitchen. They had never smelled cooking food. Their interest was obvious. Stex looked around at all the faces watching him. He was a military commander used to being obeyed without question, but he also had to consider crew morale and unconventional solutions. Finally, he spoke. Very well. I will observe this fishing, but I make no promises about changing my order. Jiwon handed him a fishing line. Come, the water is not deep here. It is safe. They waded into the ocean together. Stex moved carefully. His crystalline body was heavier than it looked, and he sank deeper into the sand. Jiwon showed him how to cast the line, how to let the bait sink, how to wait and feel for movement. The other patrol crew members followed. Soon there were a dozen people fishing, some from the patrol ship, some from the outpost. The morning sun was warm. The ocean was peaceful. They waited together. Stex's line jerked. Something had taken his bait. His whole body flashed bright purple with surprise. "What do I do?" "Pull," G1 said. "Steady and strong." Stex pulled on the line. The creature on the other end fought back. It was not large, but it was strong. Stex pulled harder. His military training helped. He was disciplined and focused. Slowly, he brought the creature in. It was a rainbow fish, medium-sized with scales that glittered in the sunlight. Stex held it up and stared at it. He had caught food. With his own efforts. Using nothing but a simple tool and patience, I caught it, he said quietly. There was wonder in his voice. I provided sustenance through my own actions. The patrol crew members who had also been fishing brought in their catches. Everyone was excited. Even the ones who caught nothing were smiling. There was something primal and satisfying about this ancient activity. Back at the shore kitchen, Daehyun showed them how to prepare the fish. How to clean it. How to cook it. Commander Stex watched every step carefully. When his fish was grilled and ready, Daehyun handed it to him on a plate. Stex took a bite. His sensors analyzed the texture, temperature, and complex flavors. He chewed slowly. His body flickered through several colors as his systems processed this entirely new experience. "This is remarkable," he finally said. "The taste is so complex, so different from synthesized nutrients, and knowing I caught it myself makes it even better. I understand now." He looked at Commander Velthar. "I withdraw my order. Not only should you continue this shore kitchen, but I believe other outposts should learn from your example. This knowledge should be preserved and shared." Relief spread through the outpost crew. They would not have to abandon what they had built. The shore kitchen would continue. Commander Stex spent the rest of the day at the shore kitchen. He tried different foods. He asked many questions. He recorded everything on his data pad. Before leaving, he approached G1. "Thank you for teaching me something today," Stex said. "I thought I knew everything about survival and leadership. But you showed me that wisdom exists in unexpected places, even in methods I considered primitive." "Every generation has wisdom to share," G1 replied. "The trick is being willing to learn." The patrol ship departed that evening. They left supplies as planned, but everyone knew they would not need them. The shore kitchen was producing more than enough food now. 3 days later, the supply freighter finally arrived. The repairs had taken longer than expected, but now it was here with full supplies and working synthesizers. The emergency was officially over. Commander Velthar called a meeting in the common area. All 50 crew members gathered. "The supply crisis has ended," he announced. "We now have access to synthesized food again. However, I propose we continue operating the shore kitchen as a permanent supplement to our food sources. Those in favor?" Every single hand, claw, tentacle, or appendage went up. The vote was unanimous. "Then it is decided," Velthar said. "The shore kitchen becomes an official outpost facility. We will continue fishing and cooking. Those who wish to learn these skills may do so. Jiwan will lead training programs for anyone interested." Over the following weeks, the shore kitchen became better organized. They created a rotation schedule so everyone had a chance to fish if they wanted. Daehyun trained a team of cooks from different species.